Let's return now to our top story this hour. That is the presidential election in Syria. Joining us is former US Senator Richard Lugar. Senator, thanks so much for being on the programme. All the signs are that Assad will easily win this election. How will the international community, especially the US, do you think, how are they going to deal with the fact he's going to be in power for another 7 years?
Well, the United States has condemned the election as a farce, as you've reported. So have most Western European countries. But Iran and Russia, and Brazil, even North Korea have sent observers to the sites. They support Bashar Assad. And Assad apparently has decided to use his constitutional authority to have an election, even with two other candidates, this time running against him, unlike 7 years and 14 years ago, and to establish the fact that a lot of people are in favor of his regime all over Syria, and even among the 3 million Syrians that have been displaced outside who voted earlier at embassies. There was conspicuous voting in Lebanon, for example, with many, many people affirming their support of him. I think we're down to the fact that Bashar Assad understands he will probably have to negotiate the future of the country with all the other parties that are involved, but he will do so from a position he believes of greater strength, given the mandate of this election.
Do you feel the fact that so many people did indeed vote for him, do you feel that was in some way because there was an absence of a cohesive, a credible opposition to him?
Well, there's never been an opposition before, and the two candidates who are running against him did have posters. We've seen photographs of those on the streets of Syrian cities, but there was no pretense really of a campaign, and the fact is that Bashar Assad was counting on turnout. They'll be looking especially at the turnout in large cities. Aleppo, for instance, they'll be interested in what kind of turnout occurs there, interested in turnout that occurs in cities that have Sunni majorities, because this comes down to a preservation, as Assad sees it, of his sect as opposed to the Sunnis. The Alawites, he believes, are a minority, and clearly they are. The Sunnis are a majority. The Alawites are hanging on. They feel they've been under attack during the civil war.
There were, of course, many areas where people couldn't vote, those who live in rebel-held areas. How do you see things moving forward? Because, you know, there are parts of the country, of course, that Assad does not control, but the opposition forces, if you can call them that, are so split and so divided into many different groups. They don't provide any proper opposition to Syria's forces, do they?
Well, this will bring an interesting analysis by not only Syrians but the world of who did vote and where, and in what numbers. As I pointed out, the Alawites are a distinct minority, but Assad is confident that a very large number, millions of Sunnis in Syria, are going to vote for him. And that remains to be seen, but we shall note that as the returns come in. Granted that there are areas under the rebels' control in which no voting is occurring.
Really good to get your thoughts. That is Richard Lugar joining us from Washington, D.C. Many thanks for your time. The US Army